Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find latest album reviews. You can find our band interviews, and you can find other music-related content on the channel. If you're new here, thank you for checking out the channel. Thank you for, taking a look at what I do. I really appreciate it. If you like what you see, make sure to hit that thumbs up, share it, like it, subscribe. It goes a long way. I've been kind of taking a little bit of a break from YouTube for a little bit over the 4th of July holiday, so I hope all of you enjoyed it. Hope all of you had a good time, but I'm back to the grind. I'll be posting new content coming to you guys very soon. I'll also be streaming on Twitch. I will be notifying a lot of people of when that will be happening, but it will be happening very soon. So, but tonight we're going to be talking about Zombieshark's newest record, I Will Destroy You, Myself, and Everything I've Ever Loved. So I've had the pleasure and privilege of interviewing Cory a couple months ago, and we had met at a show. If you want to watch that, I'll leave a link to our interview below. But he was something that I had found out about through shout out to my friend Cody of Ascend Like Wolves. He had posted like a live set of him when we were playing live shows, RIP live shows. But I saw him do a live stream, and I was just like, this dude's nuts. Like, it's so cool, something that I am like terribly unfamiliar with, and I want to kind of get a little bit more familiar with. So if you do know any sort of like Nintendo core, grindcore, or any sort of adjacent genre, I'd like to get a little bit more informed on that. So if you do have bands that I should check out, definitely drop them in the comments below. I will give them a listen. But Cory had sent me this record over early. Major shouts to him. The record comes out tomorrow, so go give it a listen. Very stoked on it, and it is different. I know it's not for everybody, but hopefully you guys will give it a listen and give it a try. So I'm gonna go through each track, give you my thoughts and opinions on it, go through some pros and cons, and then finish it out with an overall rating. So the first track is called Son of the Morning. This has a very kind of ominous intro that is pretty much a major theme throughout this entire record. I think production wise, he did a really great job of kind of keeping kind of the similar theme and thematic things going on in this record. So I really do appreciate it. I know he's been working on it for a very long time, and it does have that just really cohesive element to it. I love the synth he's using in this track in particular. He had some really great like synth sounds and samples going on in this record, and I gotta give him a lot of props because it beats me. I couldn't do that. So I really enjoyed that. I think it just has a really cool tonality to it, and I think it also plays into kind of the whole like aesthetic of what he's trying to go for. Cory's vocals come in at around the 10-second mark and add this again ominous tone that I had described earlier, and just really further add to that as well. I dig the whole instrumental aesthetic that he's created thus far in this track in particular. As I mentioned, it has more of a darker theme, and that plays a larger role in this record in general. I think it's a great opener track, and I definitely feel like it will get people's attention, especially after the next track, which is track number 2, Computer Kids Unite. This was one of the first songs that introduced me into Zombieshark. I'd say the other one would be obviously Hell World, but this one I really think is quite an introduction. If you are unfamiliar with like Nintendo core or grindcore like myself, this will throw you right in there. Like I had mentioned, I'm pretty unfamiliar with it, but it was definitely an awakening for me as a listener and as just kind of like a music enthusiast and just enjoying music from kind of different backgrounds. This one, coming from a more heavy background, this one took me by surprise, but in probably one of the best ways possible. I appreciate how kind of the instrumentals go through this like absolutely chaotic mess of screaming blast beats, but it's a nice mess. It's not like a mean mess. I'm not, no diss to Cory. I love that dude, but it just has that just Oh man, it's disgusting. It's disgusting in the best way. To something like really intriguing to me, which is more so like the clean vocals and the nice melodies. When I associate kind of like heavier genres, I notice that a lot of those things they just go full throttle with those things, and it's great, and I love that. But just the dichotomy of having kind of clean, more auto-tuned vocals or just tuned in general, and have these really like intricate melodies, and they play really well with the synths. It's this really beautiful dichotomy that I think is fully displayed in a lot of the tracks off of this record in particular. But the heaviness of the track is definitely fully explored more so in later tracks on this record as well. There is a sick breakdown at around the 1 minute and 25-second mark to the end. I feel like most people would just be like, the whole song's a breakdown, but I feel like if you could really pinpoint certain portions of the track, I would say that would be, at least in my mind, would be something that I would consider a breakdown. Is this really dissonant bombshell that I feel like isn't afraid to kick your teeth in the slightest bit. It was, like I said, it was an awakening for me to listen to a lot of these heavier, more just aggressive tracks, and I think it was a good start for me. So I appreciate this track a lot. Have a lot of sentimental value for it, and I think it's one of the good ones. So we're going to move into track number 3, which is Keyboards to Insects, and this one features Viscera. I hope I said that right. I have a very bad track record of pronunciating names, so I hope I didn't mess it up. But this one has a super strong beat to it. It really keeps that sort of high energy. It almost has kind of like a trance, like it has almost this like club type beat to it, and I hope that's like not offensive to grindcore or like people who enjoy this type of music, because again, as I had mentioned before, I'm very unfamiliar with this sort of genre of music, so I'm kind of keeping it in terms of what I know and what I feel is appropriate to talk about. But it does have that, again, that sort of club type, like like beat punch to it, and I really appreciate it's got like that trance like vibe to it, and I like that. And I think it's what really makes it interesting to me, along with like a lot of the guitar parts on this song in particular. Surprisingly, for a song that lasts a minute and 40 seconds, I think it has a lot of depth to it. And a lot of these songs are on the shorter end of the scale, but it's interesting to me how much like intricacy and how much thought is taken into like a song that is like 50 seconds, or a song that's a minute and 30 seconds, or a song that's like 2 minutes. It's very, to pack all of that stuff into one song, and to have it, have a record that has 12 songs on it, which are all kind of in the ballpark of like maybe under 30, or like maybe around like 30-40 seconds to like a little over 2 minutes. And it's really impressive. And to me, I don't know if a lot of grindcore bands kind of keep to like a shorter timestamp, but it's refreshing to me, considering that, I've heard songs that are like 11 minutes long or whatever, Dream Theater, stuff like that. So it's very interesting, and I appreciate the attention to detail in that aspect. I also love how specific each part is. You can hear the drums, you can hear the bass, you can hear the guitar, you can hear the synth lines, and anything else that is really particularly out there in a song. It feels very cohesive in that sense, in the production value, but it's also really cool to nitpick and hear those different things. And like I said, I've had this record for a little bit of time, so I've been able to pick out those certain little aspects and really kind of hone in and listen to them, and it's been really interesting. However, I feel like the song hits its peak in terms of interest to me at the 1 minute and 8-second mark to the end of the track. That's when Viscera comes in with his screams, and it really offers this kind of unique offbeat, off time signature style breakdown with like some like hard stops. There's some like really cool synth, like hard stop synth, and it just really brings something that I wasn't particularly expecting from this song to make it just elevated just that much more. I think Viscera's vocals are also a really nice additive to this track as well, and it just adds to something that is already interesting and make it more interesting. So I really appreciate this track a lot. I think Cory took a lot of risks on this track, and I think it's probably one of my favorite tracks off this record, without a doubt. So we're gonna move into track number 4, which is Synthetic City. This one, I know I already talked about Keyboards to Insects being one of my favorites, but this one is also another one of my favorites as well. I think this one feels a little bit more homey to me because, again, I listen to more metalcore, I listen to hardcore, I listen to that sort of genre and styles of music. So this one feels the most familiar to me, like gent, stuff like that. But this one just hits like a 16 wheeler. I don't know why I said 16 wheeler with like nitrous oxide boost is nuts. It just goes insane and it does not stop. I do like the notable callbacks to like video game music / chiptune music. That's really cool. That is a genre I also love, obviously being a video game fan. This one just struck me to my core, my very core. So I really do like this a lot. The song has an absolutely like pulverizing beat to it and some really awesome guitar work, surprisingly. As well as it has like this really cool, great like kind of bounce and groove to it. I really feel like one of my favorite parts of the track in particular is at the 22-second mark to around the 33-second mark. Just that transition little piece, absolutely baller. Really enjoyed that a lot. And I also really appreciate how the track kind of, in terms of the groove, really evolves and grows to really be a super special track to me. You go from something to be like have like heavier synths to it, to like a groovy guitar and drum kind of riff session going on, to blast beats and just like this chaotic, just insane mess, to a really kind of cool ethereal like synth part. And just the way that it kind of traverses these sorts of terrains is really interesting. And to have that all kind of be collective under a 1:30 track is wild to me. Like, you can go through literally the like peak of the song to a drop to the peak to like a plateau to a drop to a peak. It's like a roller coaster of like emotions to me. Again, this might seem like a big deal to anybody else, but as to me, to listening to this for kind of, I would say, the first time, it is pretty abrasive, but I think it's abrasive in the best way possible. So really enjoyed Synthetic City. Again, probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite off the record per se. So go check this one out if you haven't already. So tomorrow, obviously, because it comes out tomorrow. But anyway, go check out. We're going to move it on to track number 5, which is Red Pyramids Kill Each Other. I really love the sampled callback to another classic video game that escapes me at this very moment. I feel like I knew it, but I don't know if I can't even think of it now on the spot, but I really enjoy it. I want to say it's like Super Mario World, like Ghost House. That's what it to me reminded me of, but I'm not entirely sure. Cory, if you want to give a little bit more insight to that, feel free to. But I think it really plays into kind of the darker elements, as I had mentioned before, in kind of Son of the Morning. It has, the darker thematic thing is kind of like make itself known throughout the record, and I feel like this one is another one that is a little bit more prevalent. The song really takes its form, I would say, more likely at the 20-second mark. It really kind of takes more of the aspects of grindcore that you know and love from Zombieshark. I really dig the kind of pitched clean vocals in the like quote unquote chorus aspect of the song, and it offers a nice counterbalance to kind of the scream vocals that preceded it. Instrumentally is probably one of my favorite tracks so far. They go from these really grueling breakdowns to the synths you'd hear on like a DDR track in a matter of seconds, which is proving to me just the versatility of Cory and Zombieshark as a whole collective. I think he really does a great job of incorporating those really intense kind of synth lines and really making them not necessarily palatable, because I feel like they are more palatable than just a nasty breakdown. But the way that he kind of transitions between the two is just really impressive to me as somebody, again, who is unfamiliar with the genre. The way that he transcends kind of the landscape, and obviously being familiar musically with some stuff, I think it's cool to see him go from like point A to point B to like point C or to point D. It's really interesting as just kind of a music critiquer aspect of it. I thought that was really cool. Also, I really enjoyed the 1 minute and 56-second mark to the end of the track. It has this really kind of rhythmically insane breakdown that I feel like a lot of you will enjoy. I was really surprised with this one, and I enjoyed it a lot. So we're going to move into track number 6, which is Whispers from the Next List. I'm pretty sure I said that right. I've done try now at this point because I really, I should probably go back to learning English because I really don't know that too well. But anyway, getting back to this track in particular, don't want to waver too far off in the review. But this one was neat. It has this real kind of cool, like ethereal ambient vibe to it. And I like the landscapes that Cory has been able to create with a song like this. It has a very like interlude sort of quality to it, but it also feels really cinematic, and I really dig this one. This one's definitely up there with kind of a favorite of mine as well. I know it doesn't have any like vocals on it particularly, but just the way that, again, the dichotomy of having just these really in-your-face brutal tracks to doing something like this is just musically you're on like two ends of the spectrum, but for some reason it just works, and I've yet to understand it, and that's probably will just take me many months of listening to other grindcore and kind of Nintendo core and like cyber death bands that I'm not familiar with that kind of bridge that sort of gap pretty well. So really enjoyed this one a lot. As I had mentioned before, probably one of my favorite instrumentals throughout the entire record. It's just really ethereal, beautiful. It could be, I feel like it could be on interlude on a movie for sure, without a doubt. So enjoyed this one. Go check it out when it comes out tomorrow. So we're going to move in track number 7, which is 100 Likes. And this one features Blind Equation. As I mentioned before, the dichotomy of just nasty tracks to like very melodically beautiful tracks. This one is one of those nasty, brutal, heavy tracks that get you right in there, and with a kind of 52-second runtime, they spared no expense to get you right into this track. Short, sweet, to the point. I believe that Blind Equation offers some like lower growls and screams that you would hear on this track. I believe, again, Cory can kind of correct me on that if I am right or wrong, but again, based off of multiple listens and kind of deciphering different things, that's what I thought. It could have maybe been in another aspect of this band, but Blind Equation, good job. I'm not entirely sure what you contributed to the track, but I think it was good regardless, even though I really can't decipher which one it is. So I should probably should have done some more research on this one. But anyway, we're going to move into track number 8, which is Puzzle Room. Again, kind of similar to Whispers to the Next List. I really dig this intro as well. As a whole, it's probably one of my favorites as well. I think these interludes are super well done. The production value is just like through the roof for me. As much as I like the really heavy, aggressive tracks, it's impressive to see how cool he creates these like beautiful musical landscapes. And I think it shows off his ability as like a producer and really kind of intricately picking out these layers and making them shine in their own way, and also shine as tracks in general. As being kind of a semi-musician, it's cool to see just the dichotomy of him making these really beautiful, ethereal, thought out interludes, and then just have songs that are just like, I'm gonna go punch someone. It's just wild to see that. And obviously it shows off his prowess as, a producer, as a person who creates music, and a person who's creative. It's just really impressive, and shout outs to you, Cory. Good job, man. Also, I love the beat in this track. The layered synth is really well done. And I think it just gives you a moment to rest, find that zen, in between a heavy track. And very cool one nonetheless. So we're gonna move into track number 9, which is The Cost of Cloud Failure. I think to me this song is very reminiscent of one of the other tracks off this record. which is keyboards to insects. It has a pretty strong synth beat to it. I feel like that is the main focal point of this track in particular, and it's mostly centered around that. As I mentioned, it's followed up with some really gnarly guitar parts, and I think I think that they're incorporated more so towards the latter half of the track. And the clean vocals was another interesting twist. I thought this was just going to be just a straight baller sort of heavy track, but the clean vocals definitely threw me for a loop in a little bit. I really appreciated that because, again, I do like his cleans, so it was very cool to see that as well. And this one was a solid one in my opinion. So we're going to move into track number 10, which is Hell World. Being one of the longer tracks on the record, clocking in at around 2 minutes and 41 seconds. I know, super long track. I don't know how you guys are going to sit through the entire thing, but I would just say buckle up. You're in for a long ride, again, track that's 2 minutes and 41 seconds. I don't know how you're going to make it through it, but God rest your soul. Hopefully you make it through. But anyway, jokes aside, the track in general, really enjoy. I like how the song starts off with this really cool synth build up that lasts for about 35 seconds, and then takes a brief pause before we drop you in with those screams and the heavier instrumentals. I really appreciate that. As I mentioned before, in Computer Kids Unite, this one being one of the former tracks that I had listened to, again, one of the first tracks I had listened to from Zombieshark in particular. This one has a lot of sentimental value to me as well. I think juxtaposed to Computer Kids Unite, this one feels a little bit, it's still very heavy, but I feel like I think it's paced a little bit better, honestly. And it just, the heavier instrumentals just hit a little bit harder for some reason. I like that the guitars and the lead synth lines share kind of a similar musical pattern for a good portion of the song. I wouldn't say the entire song, but there's definitely some parts in the song in particular where, either I believe the guitar probably follows the main synth line, which is very cool. And I also really dig the kind of choppiness of the song, especially at the drops, more specifically at the 1 minute and 45 second mark to around the 2 minute and 3 second mark. And I think that the song in general becomes more dissonant as it progresses. And then just that last ending part with the synth, I really dug that kind of glitchy afterthought, ending piece. That was very cool. Again, keeping with the whole kind of, glitchy, just heavy, destructive sort of song. So we're going to move into track number 11, which is Mirror Maze. And this one took me by surprise, and I think it will take a lot of other people by surprise on this journey through Zombieshark. It is definitely unlike any of the songs that he has released as singles, and probably any of the songs that he's released thus far. Instrumentally, and interlude quality has some really kind of cool auto-tuned clean vocals, which I thought was very interesting. It almost has a kind of emo rap sort of vibe to it, similar to Nothing Nowhere, Shinigami, bands like that, similar to that. And it's definitely one of the tamest songs off the record without a doubt, and it's not a bad thing. I think this one was a really cool kind of musical experiment for Cory. I think he took a lot of risk doing some track like this, because again, he's had some cleans, but I don't think he's really had a track where, more specifically on this record, where he's just had specifically clean vocals. And I think that was really cool. I think it was probably a big song for him to put out and for him to work on, just because it is just clean singing with probably some auto-tune on it, but still it was very cool, very interesting. And I don't know whether I like it or I don't hate it for sure. I just don't know if it's one of my favorites. It might be one that I feel would grow on me in time, just because again, the songs have been pretty abrasive thus far, so I feel like this one would be one that I would probably listen to on a more frequent basis. But in terms of what vibes with the record, I think this one's a little bit out of pocket in some way. I mean, it does play off more of the melodic aspects of Zombieshark, but I feel with the cleans, I do like it a lot. I think that the song in general really works, but I think it may have been better if it was maybe the last song off the record or earlier on. I think it would have been cool if it was like maybe like where like track 6 was, Whispers from the Next List. If they swapped, I think it would be way better acquainted, and I think it would work a little bit better in the kind of the grand scheme of things. But that's just my personal preference. I think overall the song is very interesting. I think it is solid. And it's definitely one you should check out when the record comes out. So we're going to move into the last track number 12, which is The Way the World Looked at Me. And since this is the final track, it also happens to be the longest track on the record, clocking in at a massive 2 minutes and 43 seconds. And I really feel like, again, all jokes aside, again, I just find it very funny that this record is collectively under 22 minutes. But in general, I thought this one really covers the full gambit of what Zombieshark is and what this record kind of evokes. And I really do appreciate this track in particular, listening through to it, probably, God, I don't know how many times, maybe like 30 or 50 times at this point. It was one that I enjoyed coming back to again and again. It didn't disappoint me at all. It really combines a lot of aspects off this record that I really enjoyed. And, from what I've listened to in this 22-minute journey of Nintendo Core and Cyber Death, this one feels like the culmination, the creme de la creme, one that I would absolutely go back to. I love the dichotomy between the beautiful melodies of the clean vocals paired with the really awesome synth, and then that's counterbalanced by like brutal screams, blast beats. I think it does a great job of kind of having that sort of 50-50 integration of like 50% cleans, 50% uncleans, and then like 50% really nice, beautiful kind of ethereal synths with some like really grimy, dirty, disgusting, any other adjective you can think of, heavy parts. And it's just this really interesting dichotomy that I appreciate about this band more than I'll probably ever give Cory credit for, because it's just so unique to me. And I think, I appreciate him for showing me this type of music, because it's just, it's just so abrasive. And I feel like, again, people either love it or hate it. And I think I really do enjoy it a lot. I was very surprised. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy this record as much as I thought, because Cory was talking it a little bit down, but I really enjoyed it an absolute ton. I appreciate kind of the attention to how musical the last song is in particular, and how it has to have like kind of elements of everything that he's done on this record. And I think it obviously shows his prowess as a great music producer, and obviously the person that he went to mix and master the record. It shows off his ability to kind of create these, expansive landscapes musically, and kind of formulate them into like a 2 minute, 2 minutes and 30 plus track to maybe like a 50-second track. It's very cool. And I like that. Great closer. And again, easily one of my favorite tracks off the record. So we're going to go through some pros and cons that I have on the record. I think that some of the pros that I have about it is that is equally heavy as it is melodic. There are moments where I'm just like, holy shit, this is really heavy. And there's also moments where I'm like, man, this is really beautiful. It's really well executed. I think more so in the kind of the like interlude kind of instrumental sort of version of the tracks. But, again, really well put together. I got to give them props on the production, the mix, the master. I think they did a really great job of it. Musically, it covers the gamut too. Again, having tracks that are more melodic, and then also tracks that are just frenetic and just insane tracks. So really enjoy the dichotomy of that. I know I had mentioned it a lot throughout this review, but I feel like it's very aptly appropriate. And so enjoyed those moments of this track. And some cons, I definitely feel like it's not for everybody. I went on listening to this with an open mind, and I hope that people who check this out go into it with an open mind as well. It's very interesting. It can also be very abrasive, but it can, at the same time, it can be very melodic. And so I think there's definitely a song on here for everybody. I feel like if you are more of a fan of kind of like Nintendo Core, grindcore, cyber death, those sorts of genres, this will resonate with you more, obviously. But if you kind of just stumbled upon this and you want to check this band out, I would give it a listen at the very least. I think it is, again, if you're into really, really heavy music, like more so along the lines of like deathcore, things like that, I feel like you'll find a lot of similarities to that genre to this one. I'm not saying it's a one for one thing, but it's pretty close, I would say. So my overall rating for Zombieshark, I Will Destroy You, myself, everything I've ever loved, I'm going to be giving it a 9.3 out of 10. I think it's a solid release for 2020. I'm excited to see if it, how it will fare in the rankings, and how much further I will delve into this after the review, which, granted, I probably won't be checking this back until December, but nonetheless, I think it is a really solid record for me to listen to and kind of get familiar with the genre itself. And I think it's a good introduction record to people who maybe aren't familiar with this genre. You should go check it out because it's very interesting. It's very unique, and I definitely feel like this genre in particular has a very strong fan base. So go give them some love and let me know in the comments what you think about this record. If you agree, if you disagree, I'd love to know. It's been really cool seeing Cory's project getting a lot of push over the past couple days, seeing other people being posting reviews. It's been really cool, and it's been cool to get their perspective on stuff. So I want to give shout outs to the other reviews that I'd seen. I saw one for New Fury, and they did a great review, so go check that out if you're interested. But it's cool to see, it's cool to see this homie do it what it do, you know what I'm saying? And I love this guy. Cory, shouts to you, man. Thank you for sending it to me early, and go support my boy. I'll leave a link to pre-order the record. He's doing some really interesting like pre-order stuff, so if you're interested in that like off the wall pre-order shit, go check them links, and also go follow him on social media. And I'll also leave a link to the interview as well. It was really cool. It'll hopefully give you maybe more insight on this record that I couldn't give you myself. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you for checking it out. As I mentioned, stream is going to be coming up very soon. It's going to be on Twitch. I'm going to be back to doing album reviews. I'm going to be doing some live stuff on Twitch. I'm maybe doing more so a podcast thing on Sundays. I haven't really decided on it yet, but I figure I'd give you guys the information. New merch is coming up on the store, so check that out if you're interested. All of the proceeds are going to charity. I don't see any of it. I don't want to see any of it. So if you are interested in supporting the channel, all of those proceeds are going to charity. So check that out. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you all had a great 4th of July. Thank you for stopping by the channel, and thank you for watching. My name is Brandon. We hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace.